This week we've got the key to the 2025 Honda Civic Si, and I'm super excited about that because I've come to realize that the Civic Si is my favorite in the Civic lineup. So let's hop in, head out to one of my favorite winding roads, and talk about why. All right, before we dive into the details, let's catch up on what's new here. This 11th gen Civic has been around since 2022, and for 25, it's been refreshed rather subtly. On the outside, there's a new grille, and the front bumper and the rear taillights have been slightly revised. And on the inside here, we now get heated seats in the front, digital gauges, a shift light indicator, and infotainment with Google built in. But for the most part, it's the same as it was before. It's still the same incredibly fun, small car that we've come to expect to wear an SI badge. You start with a competent chassis, great steering, add a manual transmission, and give it more power, but not too much power. Couple that with the right gearing that keeps the fun at mostly legal speeds. And honestly, it's still one of the best performance bargains on the market, starting at around 30 grand. All right, so we have to talk about this. Let's get this out of the way now. We have to talk about this paint color. So following the trend of eliminating pretty much all cool colors from the car landscape, Honda only offers this year's Si in red, black, white, and gray. That blazing orange that I loved from a few years ago is gone. This is the urban gray pearl, and I'm not a fan. I mean, there's a little bit of a pearlescent glow to it, but come on, it's just gray, and it's an option. It costs extra. Maybe I'm just old school, and maybe it's just me, but I wish Honda would bring back that Tahitian green from the 90s Civics. I just prefer fun cars in fun colors. All right, with that out of the way, I'm a big fan of how this Civic looks, even several years after its debut. It's a bit larger than the Civics of the past, but most cars are larger than they once were, so this feels just about right. And on the inside here, we've got possibly my favorite interior layout. Super clean and elegant lines, nice attention to detail in the design, really nice feeling steering wheel. We've got simple physical controls for the climate system, which I love, and a screen that isn't gargantuan, and good outward visibility all around. I really like spending time in here. The seats look nice and they're quite comfortable. There's no leather available here, but honestly, I much prefer cloth, especially in a sporty car. They are manually adjustable, and this year they are heated, which is a nice touch. I'm 6'3" and I've got good legroom in here, I've got good headroom, and right in front of me, we finally get a full digital display, and it's clean and easy to read, and the shift lights are a new addition as well. Over to the right, the infotainment system now has Google built in. It's responsive and easy to use. It's got large icons, so you don't have to squint for what you're looking for. We've also got CarPlay and Android Auto, and just a wonderful feeling manual transmission. Seriously, one of my favorites. The rear seat is pretty bare bones. You got cheaper feeling plastic on the doors, no vents, not even any USB ports for a phone. There is an armrest with cup holders though, yay. The Si is all about the driver, so you backseat riders will just have to deal with your low iPhone batteries. The trunk is pretty deep, decent size for a compact car at 14.1 cubic feet of space. Certainly a lot smaller than the Civic hatch though, but you can fold those seats down and fit longer items. So under the hood, we have Honda's 1.5 liter turbocharged direct injected 4-cylinder, and it still makes 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque, but a lot of people say that this is conservatively rated. Now, I don't have access to a dyno, but there have been some people that say that it does make a bit more than 200 horsepower. So we've got that 6,500 RPM red line, but there's a pretty good torque curve here, a bit more torque down low, the lower RPMs than the previous generation Si. But you know, it's not like crazy amounts of torque. And thankfully not much turbo lag. In terms of sheer acceleration, this Si can get to 60 miles per hour in about 7 seconds, and by today's standards, that's like family crossover territory. When it comes to sporty compact cars, the Volkswagen Jetta GLI is a bit faster, and the Hyundai Elantra N is a whole lot faster. But over the years, I've realized that 0 to 60 times and horsepower figures don't always equate to driving enjoyment. To me, it's all about the combination of many elements: precise handling, responsive steering, and a transmission that keeps you engaged. And Honda seems to have intentionally tuned all these aspects to deliver an experience that's enjoyable even at legal speeds, where you're not constantly risking your license, but it requires your engagement. You have to work the gearbox to keep it in the power band. It took me owning a Type R to really come to terms with this. That car just begged you to go faster at every single turn. And you know, driving on this road, there's quite a few areas where I see skid marks that go right off the side of the cliff. So obviously there's some people that are driving way beyond their abilities, but there's also people driving cars that have so much power, so much potential that you can never ever fully realize that on public roads. So yes, the Si is slower, it's less visceral, but you can actually have fun with it on public roads without risking life or limb. It really is the sweet spot. You've got super sharp handling. It gets around all of these turns with ease. Only a touch of understeer in really tight turns. The steering feels very precise. It's not too heavy. These Goodyear summer tires have loads of grip, and putting down the power coming out of a corner is very easy. Not much torque steer. Now, when it comes to suspension, yeah, the previous generation had adaptive dampers, and we have fixed dampers here. And yeah, if you're like super in tune with your car, you can probably tell the difference. But for most people, the difference is going to be so subtle that it doesn't really matter. This is really good without adaptive dampers. Now, without adaptive dampers, there is no soft setting here for daily driving, so it kind of splits the difference. It's not too harsh for, you know, your daily commute, but it's not too soft for a road like this. I think they did a pretty good job tuning it. And the sound, it's okay. It's not like an amazing sounding engine. They do pipe in some sounds through the speakers here. Now let's talk about the shifter, because I love it. It is just so satisfying to use. Now, the Civic Si being available in manual only is probably a terrible business decision by Honda, considering the fact that manual transmission cars have all but disappeared from American roads. But I, for one, am thankful that Honda still cares about this type of driving experience that you can get with this car. It's just a really good gearbox. It does have a rev matching feature, which I have turned on right now, but it does have pedal spacing that is really good for heel toe type of driving. So overall, yeah, the Si is a momentum car. It doesn't have a ton of power, but the great chassis still allows you to have so much fun, and it really allows you to have that enjoyment at mostly legal speeds, which is probably a good thing. All right, so now when it comes to price, the Civic Si is still a pretty good value. So if you don't add any options like this gray paint, Si comes to $31,400 just after destination charge. And considering that the average new car price of today is 50 grand, this much fun and performance at around 30 grand seems like a bargain. And it's practical enough that you can use it every day. Recently, a lot of people have been saying, well, why don't you just buy a Civic Hybrid, because it's actually quicker than the Si. Plus, it gets way better fuel economy, even though the Civic Si still averages 31 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent. So yeah, of course, if you value fuel economy, get the Hybrid. It is a bit quicker, but it doesn't have this Si Sport Tune suspension, and it doesn't have a manual transmission, which is just becoming so incredibly rare these days. And speaking of manuals, it's no longer an option on the Civic Sport as of 2025, so the Si and the Type R are the only ways to get a manual Civic, unless you buy a used one. There's also other cars in this category that offer more power and speed. The Volkswagen Jetta GLI has more power, and it's slightly quicker to 60. It also offers a dual clutch transmission, but it is a bit heavier and perhaps not quite as nimble as the Civic. It's also more expensive. And you can get a whole lot more speed and power for just a few extra grand with the Hyundai Elantra N. It has an available dual clutch as well, and the handling is fantastic, but it's also heavier than the Si, and the styling is a bit weird, which may or may not be for you. But even though there are similar options with more power, I think only having 200 horsepower is a feature, not a bug. This car requires your engagement, keeping the car in the power band, making you harness its momentum, perhaps even making you a better driver. And I think all of those elements make this car so good. So there's a reason why the Civic Si has earned such a good reputation. It's nearly a perfect blend of performance with daily driver livability. Yeah, I wish the Si was also available in hatchback form, which would make it even more practical, but that's just a little nitpick. And just like all of the SIs of years past, it's a great value. So if you want a fun, lightweight, tossable, reliable car that will put a smile on your face without destroying your wallet, the Civic Si is really hard to beat. All right, that's it for today. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. If you'd like to help support the show, please buy a Hello Road t-shirt or hat at hello road.tv/shop. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.